Hey guys, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mrhappy Mondays, or Mondays with Mr. Happy, whatever you want to call it. You know me, I always like to get an extra word or 7,000 in or something like that. This is my weekly Q&A show where I look at your questions and I answer them. That's pretty much the gist of it. If you have a question for next week, be sure to leave it in the comments below. And, well, I'd say we should get started. I got my morning cup of coffee, gotta get this done before I go to the eye doctor, so let's get started. Alright, so literally one of the first questions under the video, and this question popped up a bunch under this video, previous videos, I get it in Twitch chat all the time, good question to answer. Do you have a job outside of YouTube? Simple answer is no. There's a much more elaborate story behind it, but basically, no. YouTube and Twitch.tv streaming is my job. So, people of course also ask, what about your income? Can't tell you about my income, not really comfortable doing something like that, but let's just say this. If I wasn't somebody who was so headstrong on taking on financial problems, and my financial problem being loans, of course, it would be enough for me to live off of on my own or with a roommate or something like that. So I am happy with my income. It's better at times, worse at times, but regardless, I like what I do, and I make good enough money to survive off of. Another common one, and I guess it's fair, I only really made the announcement on Facebook and Twitter, so seeing the question on YouTube is pretty much expected. Are you going to the fan festival? If so, are we allowed to come greet you and take pics with you? We'll be making a video from the fan festival. So that's 3 questions I just realized before reading that comment off. The answer to the first one, yes, I am going to the fan festival in Las Vegas, North America. If so, are we allowed to come greet you and take pics with you? Yes, of course. And will you be making a video? I haven't really decided. I don't really have any equipment. Like I said, I'm so headstrong into paying my student loans that dropping money on a camera like that is not so easy. But I think I might bring my laptop along. I'm gonna probably try and find a way to do a video. It's in the plan. This one I'm just gonna read. Can you organize your videos on YouTube? You know, every time I try to organize my videos on YouTube, I sometimes get more confused myself. Because I do have video categories. My bestiary has its own series, my EX Primal guides, my binding coil guides. But for like all the little videos I do, like I even have a stream highlights one, it is pretty hard to organize YouTube and put everything into a way that everyone can find everything. It's actually not very easy. I am looking into ways to get that organized though, so sorry for the issues. Here's a good one. Did you play Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 through 1.23b? If so, what did you think of it, and how does 2.0 to 2.35 stack up in your opinion? Alright, I did play 1.0 to 1.23b, but not throughout the entire course. Like, it wasn't like I played it straight through. I played 1.0 until I hit level 50, which took about 2 months. And then I played, and then I quit because there was nothing to do endgame. Except level more things. So then I came back around 1.17 and 1.18. I came back when Darkhold was brand new, and I played until I beat Ifrit 107 times, not getting the weapon that I want after 107 kills. In fact, only getting a total of like 4 weapons over 107 kills because of the way loot worked back then, and then I quit again. And then I had a friend convince me to come back around 1.23b to get my relic, and then he just stranded me, and he's like, oh, well, now that you're back, go do everything else except for Ifrit Extreme, and then we'll do Ifrit Extreme with you. It was pretty much how it went. They wouldn't let me come do Aurum Vale or Cutter's Cry, which I know they have pretty tight DPS requirements, or at least people expected you to be able to do a certain amount of damage, and my gear was utter crap because I hadn't been playing the past 5 months. So, yeah, I just played for like maybe 5-6 months total, and overall, I didn't like it. I didn't like the game. I feel like 1.23b was a playable game, even with the animation lag, if it had had more constant game updates. I don't think it would have been the success that Final Fantasy XIV is now, but I mean, A Realm Reborn was kind of designed to be this kind of success, you know, this broader audience game. They didn't want to make another niche Final Fantasy that only so many people play, and then in 10 years it's outdated and they can't really do anything. Final Fantasy XIV to me feels more like a game that can evolve and can adapt, whereas 1.0 just, it was kind of stuck what it was. There was really no moving away from it, so I'm glad we have a Realm Reborn now. Here's a funny one because I have like a one-word answer for it. I'm curious what your thoughts are on current elemental resistance materias are. Useless. Well, actually, more than one-word answer. They're good for spirit bonding, but and then they also asked, what do you think the Shiva fight might be like? Lots of ice, I have a feeling. Good hunch. Here's one. Do you ever do random duty roulettes? Yeah, I do them all the time. I do my duty roulettes every day. And very often I run into parties where like, are you the real Mr. Happy? And I just say yes. Sometimes I don't even want to say hello to parties, or I just do like a /wave or something like that. Because I don't want people seeing that it's me and thinking I deserve any sort of special treatment. I don't deserve any sort of special treatment. Everyone seems to think they have to like always, I mean, I appreciate thank yous, but it's another thing to like grovel before me and things like that. It's like, that's so unnecessary. Like, you don't have to do that. I'm not special. I just do videos on YouTube. I'm not this like Final Fantasy XIV god. There are better players than me out there, tons of them. I'm not some Final Fantasy XIV god, but yes, I do duty roulettes, and I do run into fans all the time. By the way, I'm over 500 commendations now, so if you want to give commendations to somebody else, somebody who was actually impressive and wasn't just named Mr. Happy, feel free to do that. Here's one. Which stat did you go with on your Novus? You know what's funny? I had like 43 Alexandrite until like 2 days ago because I was like, I don't care. And then they said, oh, the next step of the relic is coming soon. So I immediately did 43 melts and I now have a finished Novus. It's not the stats that I wanted. I kind of went with a poor man's Novus, even though I have the money to do a more expensive one. I did 27 accuracy, 25 crit, 23 determination. On my server, tier 3 determinations are really cheap, and I actually had a fair amount of this materias saved up from spirit bonding before. So yeah, I went with that. I don't think it's optimal. I think finishing, getting all 31 determination should be something everyone should aim for on the Bard Novus. And having some accuracy to me is always important, just because I'm always thinking of the next patch. You know, next patch, what if there's not that much accuracy on all the gear, but we still need more accuracy? Like, I'm always thinking ahead of time. Like, if my weapon has some accuracy, I have some leeway. If all that gear ends up having accuracy, then I'll regret that decision later. But, excuse me, I won't know for now. So that's what I did. Here's another simple one to answer. Do you think Square Enix is going to raise the level cap when they release the expansion? Yeah, they're going to do it. They pretty much said they're going to do it in multiple interviews and live letters and things like that. So, yeah. Alright, here's a good one. What do you think about the Atma grind for the Zodiac weapon? Do you think they will change it anytime soon? Atma grinding was the thing that made me flip my desk and quit Final Fantasy XIV. Listen, I played Final Fantasy XI for 7 years. I know what it's like to go after something for hours and days and weeks and months and years and never get it. And so and what I'm trying to say is I'm kind of numb to the pain of the Atma grind. I was numb to it before it ever came out, so I don't know if I really have a valid opinion on it. It's worse for some people than it is for others. I had to do a lot of things to kind of make it bearable, but I mean, hell, during the 14-hour live broadcast, they did an Atma challenge. Guy got 11 out of 12. Granted, he had the whole server helping him, but yeah, it can be pretty frustrating. I think in 2.4, moving forward from 2.4 and on, that we'll see an increased drop rate. I don't ever expect it to be like, go here, do one fake, get Atma, unless you're super lucky. But yeah, I think they'll make changes to it soon. Alright, I like this one because the answer is pretty simple. What are your hobbies other than gaming? Well, I used to have a hobby in physical fitness, and I was going to make a career out of physical fitness at one point, because I went from being the way you see me now to much more in shape and always eating healthy, and I kind of retained some of those things, but ever since I injured my shoulder, ever since I got into trying to make a living on YouTube, I really have had a difficult time getting back into physical fitness. I go to the gym with a friend like once a month or something like that. But yeah, it's not good. I should really get back into the gym, and then I can tell you that that's my hobby again, because I don't really have many other hobbies other than that. I go and eat sushi. There. Is that a hobby? That's a hobby for me. This one I'll answer because we like to have fun with this on my stream. Do you enjoy fighting games? If so, which series and characters are your favorites? I enjoy fighting games. I'm not very good at them. I'm what the fighting game community would call free. And I'm not afraid, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. It's the truth, okay? But as for series, really, I like almost all of them. You know, whenever Evo comes around, if I'm not busy, I love to watch Street Fighter. I love to watch Marvel vs. Capcom. I love to watch Persona 4 is one of my favorites. I love the Guilty Gear series and watching that. What's the other one? Blaze Blue. Obviously, like Guilty Gear, gotta like Blaze Blue as well. I've pretty much watched all of them, but the one that I liked was Super Smash Brothers, but most people in the fighting game community used to get pretty upset when you call it a fighting game. It's not a fighting game, it's a brawler. But it started to pop up in a lot more fighting tournament like areas, so maybe it's finally being accepted, and to that I'm kind of glad. I loved Melee and I love Brawl. It was the only fighting game I was ever good at, but other than that, I'm free. Alright, I think this will be the last one I answer because I've answered quite a few of them, unless I find another one that I really, really want to answer, but I do like this one. Mrhappy, what are your opinions about what sets Final Fantasy XIV or Realm Reborn as of the current patch? Not only from World of Warcraft, but from theme park MMOs in general. Keep up the great content, glad to be a sub. Thank you for supporting the channel. And you know what, right now, I don't feel like there is that much. Pretty much here's how I look at it. World of Warcraft sort of covers the broad spectrum of what you can do in an MMO. But I don't really feel like it's a theme park anymore. I think the term theme park MMOs, I don't really like it anymore. To me, a theme park, when I go into a theme park, there's tons of rides. I get to pick and choose what I want to do. And technically, yes, that is still an element in World of Warcraft that, you know, you can, when you pick up the game, you pick what race you want to be, what class you want to play, you know, what dungeons you want to do, how you want to go about leveling. Do you want what, you know, gathering classes or crafting classes you want to level or things like that. When you get to endgame, do I want to do the easier raids? Do I want to do the harder raids? Do I want to PvP? Do I want to do arenas? It sounds like a lot on paper, but basically, if you're not a PvPer, it's I am going to do my raid for the week, and then I will log off. And unfortunately, Final Fantasy XIV does have some of that right now. I don't like the term theme park yet. Maybe when they add the golden saucer, that'll be one thing. That's one thing that I feels like to me that's really setting it apart, is they're really trying to create this perpetual need for all content whenever they do. Like, we're in 2.3 now. You wouldn't expect that content from 2.0 is still relevant, but it is still very, very relevant. And that is something that maybe for a hardcore player isn't that great, because we want them every patch to have like tons and tons of raid bosses and things like that. But for somebody coming into the MMO new, it actually keeps making the game have more and more for them to do, and not so much more and more for them to catch up, just more and more for them to do. And I think they are working on adding more and more things to do. You know, with personal housing coming soon, we're going to have Chocobo Racing, we're going to have Triple Triad, we're going to have the Gold Saucer in general, which in itself is a theme park slash casino, whatever. So I feel like what sets it apart now is it's very approachable. World of Warcraft is, unless you're getting that level 90 character, and even if you are, you don't want to just be brand new and go right to level 90, then you're going to miss everything. It's just, it's more approachable, is I guess the one real draw it has from World of Warcraft. You know, as a new MMO, it is very, very approachable by the mass audiences. It has a very fantasy-ish feel. I mean, it's Final Fantasy. That's one of the biggest things. It is Final Fantasy. If you like Final Fantasy, odds are, if you're a fan of Final Fantasy and MMOs, this is the kind of setting that you're going to want to be in. There's still some things that I feel like they could learn from other MMOs, not just World of Warcraft, especially when it comes to the way they treat animations. I know they like big flashy animations, but sometimes they just go a little bit overboard, and it causes technical problems. So Final Fantasy XIV still has a lot of room to grow. So I guess that is another one of its major differences. It is in its infant stage, and I'm the kind of person, I want to see this game grow from its infant stage. I watched it grow from its technical infant stage of 1.0. I want to watch it continue to grow, because I almost feel like it was like Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 was a child, and then that child was frozen in ice until A Realm Reborn came out, and now they're actually growing up. That's how I feel about it anyway, so I don't even know if I really answered your question. Let's see if there's any other questions before I cut the video. Alright, I think this will be the last one I answer, but I do see some of them here that I do kind of want to save for next week. So don't worry, guys, if I didn't answer your question. I am going to be looking at this again next week and kind of picking and choosing ones. If I see it asked again in this video, though, in the comment section, I'll just use it there. But what is your best advice for someone coming back to the game from 1.0? If you played the game in 1.0, I can only assume you played Final Fantasy XI before that, just because not really anybody who really didn't have a deep connection to the Final Fantasy brand kind of didn't care about Final Fantasy XIV 1.0, even before it was launched. Just seeing any of the beta footage or trying it for themselves was horrible for them. So if you came from 1.0 to 2.0, don't expect a niche sort of close-minded MMO experience, something that's only for a few people. Expect it to be broad, easier to understand, and just less deep. You know, sure, there are some things in Final Fantasy XIV you could consider depth, but I mean, don't expect to be like, oh, I need to get fire resistance for this fight, or I need to make sure I have a weapon that deals additional water damage. Like, things like that aren't there. So expect it to be more of a straightforward RPG experience, along with other players, of course, it being an MMO. In other words, really, don't expect it to be Final Fantasy XI 2, and I don't want it to be, honestly. But anyway, guys, thanks for all your questions. Like I said, there were still a bunch of other questions that I wasn't able to get to. Otherwise, this video would be already like, what I think is like 15, 16 minutes or something like that. But there was a lot of questions I really wanted to answer, and I tried to get through as many of them as possible. So be sure to ask your questions for next week in the comment section below, like I said at the beginning of the video. Also, you can ask me on Facebook or Twitter, but I'm going to be honest to you, it's easier if you just ask them in the comment section here. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. Although, if you're asking me a question, you probably already were a subscriber because you wouldn't have found this video otherwise. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.